This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 602. Welcome in. I did the intro a second ago and I realized, I felt weird. I'm like, I haven't really talked all day. I was like stumbling. I'm like, I sat in my room all day. I watched football and I was like, I guess I haven't really said very many words out loud literally all day. I've ended my whole watching football. It's Sunday night for me. This will come out Monday morning. Welcome in. I got a weird little PSA, by the way. For the entire time I've done the show, I've used these like the clicky pens. They're really nice. They're a little more expensive, like they're a type of pen. If you're a person who uses pens every day for work or something, I've always used the ones that like click in and click out, little like that little sound. I made a change. I started getting, because I've been having trouble. These run dry all the time, no matter what brand I buy. I started buying like the really crappy, cheap, just like you put the lid on pens. And they're way cheaper and they work better. And if you're a person who uses pens every day like I do, constantly taking notes, kind of a pro tip, I recommend try this like weird, crappy, just the basic pen. It works actually, I've found better. It fails less frequently. And budgetary reasons, and also just like it literally does work better. I kept having trouble. These were like drying out, and I'm like, I got to try something. And I'm shocked to find. I know you don't care about pens, but if you are a pen person, you're in college or whatever, give the old humble regular pen a try. They work really well. There are now no more undefeated teams left in the NFL. Brock Purdy lost for the first time ever during an NFL regular season game. The Cleveland Browns beat the 49ers 19-17. And it's been a really weird year for Cleveland. They lost Nick Chubb, their running back. He's out for the year. So is the right tackle, Jack Conklin. And for this game, for the second game in a row, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson did not play. He's got a shoulder injury. He's out. And for the Browns to be 3-2 right now, given the injuries they've had, let alone they just beat the San Francisco 49ers 19-17 with a backup quarterback. That really is an example to me of how good this Cleveland Browns football team is. I said they were an incredible football team going into the year. Given the luck they've had, given the way they just played on Sunday in Week 6, I feel great about that. I really do believe this is a Browns roster that's really, really, really talented. For their quarterback to be have missed 2 games this year, their running back, their entire offense is built around, and the right tackle to be the right tackle and the running back out for the year, the Browns are 3-2. It's incredible to me. And by the way, to beat the 49ers with a backup quarterback, PJ Walker, who had 2 interceptions in this football game, it just speaks a lot about how really good and how great this Browns defense is, man. PJ Walker was 18 for 34 passing, had 192 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, by the way. Although as I kind of make fun of PJ Walker, calling him a backup quarterback with 2 interceptions, I do feel like you have to acknowledge he had 2 really good drives at the end of the fourth quarter. Drives that made it possible for the Browns to win. And in fact, the 49ers had the ball late, had a chance to put the game away, not give the ball back. They couldn't do it. So I actually would argue PJ Walker made more plays at the end than Brock Purdy. But the story to me here is that the Browns defense is the #1 defense in all of football. The numbers and stats back that up. They're incredible. And the 49ers had the ball 7 times in the second half. Here's what happened when the 49ers had the ball. The 49ers had an interception. The 49ers had 4 3-and-outs, meaning you run 3 plays, you don't get a first down, you punt the ball away. They missed a field goal, and they had a touchdown. And that touchdown in the second half for the 49ers only came because that backup quarterback, PJ Walker for the Browns, threw an interception that gave the Browns the ball first and goal at the 8-yard line. Sorry, they gave the 49ers the ball first and goal at the 8-yard line. So the only time the 49ers scored in the second half was when they were handed the ball first and goal on the 8-yard line. Other than that, it was a shutout basically for the Browns defense in the second half. And I would imagine today, I'm recording Sunday night. For you guys, it's going to be Monday morning. I would imagine the narrative is going to be, I'm recording, again, after the games all happen, so I don't know what people are going to say Monday morning. My prediction will be there are 1,000% going to be people who are going to be anti-Brock Purdy. They're going to say, look at what happened to Brock Purdy. Plays a good defense. Remember, in this game, Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, the star receiver and star running back for the 49ers, were knocked out of the game, didn't play in the second half. They were hurt. People are going to watch this Browns-49ers game, see what happened, and go, oh, Brock Purdy sucks. And that's a massive, massive, massive overreaction. That's nonsense to me. But people are going to say that. People are going to say, oh, it's really hard to win when you don't have amazing teammates helping you win. That's what's going to happen. You realize that. People are going to say, funny how it's harder to win without Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. To me, the reason why the 49ers lost has everything to do with how good the Browns defense is. That's really the story here. And I want you to name the quarterback who can play the Browns defense, lose their running back and their stud receiver, and still win and have a great game. I don't think it's shocking here. Brock Purdy was 12 for 27, had 125 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and an interception. There was pressure on Brock Purdy all day long. I thought Brandon Ayuk had a couple balls that should have been caught, had a couple drops that were like, oh, that's a great ball. There was a ball that I remember deep. It's ingrained in my memory. They blitz. Brock Purdy hangs in the pocket, makes a great throw downfield, beats one-on-one coverage. Brandon Ayuk has it in his hands, and he drops it. You're like, oh, man. And I really don't understand people's eagerness, like the excitement to tear down Brock Purdy. I don't understand. It's like people were waiting. Like, ooh, one of these days he's going to slip up and we're going to get him. We're going to attack him like crazy. I don't get the eagerness to attack and tear down Brock Purdy. He played the best defense in the NFL. He didn't have his best game. That's fair. Brock Purdy didn't play great. Yes, I acknowledge that 1,000%. But also the team as a whole made a ton of mistakes. I mean, there was a couple plays. There was a holding on Trent Williams that made it 1st and 20. Then they had a false start, made it 1st and 25 in the second half. There were moments where the 49ers team as a whole didn't play great. And for Brock Purdy to have one crappy game and lose, and now suddenly he's garbage, is a ridiculous idea. I think it's confirmation bias. People see what they've wanted to see the entire time. They see a quarterback who came out of nowhere, defied expectations, was the last pick of the draft, and people go, oh, see, he's bad. We saw it all along. No. You don't get to do that. It's a ridiculous idea for a person to have one bad game and suddenly they suck. I hate this idea. You have to judge people on patterns and repeated behavior. So far in the career of Brock Purdy, this game, this loss, it's an outlier. This is not the norm for Brock Purdy. Kind of a bad game, they lose. He's usually been really consistent and accurate. There was an interception where Brock Purdy threw the ball behind Brandon Ayuk. It looked like the ball kind of slipped out of his hand. It was wet. I don't know. But I just would encourage you, do not strongly overreact to Brock Purdy having kind of an average to underwhelming game. 125 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, terrible completion percentage. Like, I can acknowledge, not a good game. But it doesn't mean Brock Purdy is suddenly garbage. I hate this idea. The way you judge people is over a long period of time, and you look at the way they consistently perform. Consistently, Brock Purdy has performed at a really high level and done a really good job. Been very accurate, had great timing, made good decisions. I thought he did a lot of that stuff on Sunday. He wasn't as accurate as normal. I think the wetness of the ball really impacted him. It was wet. It was rainy. And it's not like Brock Purdy was absolutely terrible. I really thought there were a couple throws where he was on target. His receivers didn't help him out. But the Browns played great coverage. They got a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. Brandon Ayuk had a couple drops. And still, by the way, with 9 seconds left in the game, the 49ers lined up for the game-winning field goal. Jake Moody missed the game-winning 41-yard field goal. If he makes that kick, the narrative on Monday morning would instead be, instead of people trashing Brock Purdy, they'd go, wow, he had a game-winning field goal drive. He put it together. He had a kind of a rough start, but he made it work in the end. That really would be the narrative today. It's funny how one little outcome can change the entire perception of how a player is viewed. It's crazy to me. And so, Brock Purdy, not his best game. He has his first loss in the NFL. It was bound to happen. What I don't understand, once again, I don't understand the people who appeared to have been waiting like, oh, one day, little Brock Purdy's going to slip up, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to jump on him and attack him and call him terrible. I'm like, guys, have you not watched him the entire time he's been in the NFL? Everyone is allowed to have a bad game. You can't just attack a guy the first time you see what you thought was going to happen when he came into the NFL. Remember the first time Brock Purdy walked onto the field? Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. Trey Lance gets hurt. In comes, I guess, Brock Purdy. Who's this kid out of Iowa State? People thought he was going to suck, and he didn't. He played really well. They've been waiting, I guess, the entire time he's been in the league for this moment where he has a bad game. So I don't understand it. To me, Brock Purdy's an incredible story, the American dream, a guy who's an underdog, who's exceeded all of the expectations placed on him and done a great job. And one more time, this game is the outlier, not the consistent way that he's played throughout his entire career in the NFL. 49ers are 5-1. Great win for Cleveland. You love to see it. I think the 49ers have got an interesting next couple of games. They play at Minnesota next week. The Vikings are a team that has a terrible record, but the Vikings can beat you. They are very, how do I even put this? They score a lot of points. They're very capable. They've just been unlucky and messy at times. I think it's a great opportunity for the 49ers to get back on track and win, but also the Vikings, they got some talent. They do some stuff well, and every game they've been in this year, like they played Kansas City really well. It was close. It was competitive. Then the 49ers play Cincinnati in San Francisco. It's still a tough game. They got a bye week 9. Then they play at Jacksonville. Then they play at Tampa. Tampa's 3-2, first in their division. Then they play at Seattle. Then Philly week 13. Then Seattle again. They play Seattle 2 times in a 3-week span. I think the road for the 49ers up ahead is actually kind of tough. Cincinnati, playoff team last year. Jacksonville, a playoff team last year. Minnesota, a playoff team last year. Tampa, first in their division. Seattle's in their division. Philly, playoff team, went to the Super Bowl last year. Like, there's a lot of good teams coming up ahead for the 49ers. If at the end of the second game against Seattle, Brock Purdy's playing bad and they're losing, then fine. You can have the narrative. You can say Brock Purdy sucks. I understand that. But don't cherry pick one loss and say, suddenly he's garbage. No. That's not how you judge people in the NFL. It doesn't make any sense to me. You can't cherry pick one game that supports the way you feel about a player and suddenly run with that as a narrative for the rest of time immemorial. So anyway, do not overreact to Brock Purdy losing his first game in the NFL. All right, I got to take a short break. I got to pay the bills. I got to buy food, and I got to pay my share of the rent. My name is Zach Schomler. I will be right back. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks allows you to make an entry based on player projections, and in 60 seconds, you can enter something like Travis Kelce more than 5 catches, Tyreek Hill more than 100 yards receiving, and Justin Fields less than 200 yards passing. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes games more engaging, and you could turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All right, we are back. The 49ers were not the only team that lost their undefeated record this weekend. Philly also lost. The only 2 teams coming into this weekend in the NFL that were still undefeated was 5-0 Philly and the 5-0 49ers. Both of them are now 5-1. The Jets beat Philly 20-14. And for me, as a guy who, going into the year for the Jets, thought they were going to have kind of a rocky, really tough start. Remember, the first 6 games for the Jets were brutal. They played Buffalo, at Dallas, New England, Kansas City, Denver, then Philly. I thought Denver was going to be really good. That turned out to be totally wrong. But New England, they always struggle with. Dallas is really good. Buffalo's a playoff team. Kansas City's a playoff team. And Philly's a playoff team. At least 4 of the 6 teams the Jets started with are playoff teams. Well, definitely 4, and definitely not Denver and not New England. But still, I thought, man, even with Aaron Rodgers going into the year, I thought the Jets were going to be lucky to start the year 3-3. Well, now the Jets are 3-3. They just knocked off Philly, and they did it without their star quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. He tore his Achilles 4 snaps into the year. You could call it 5 if you count the Achilles. Terrible joke. But now they got Zach Wilson at quarterback, and they're still 3-3. To me, that's really, really impressive. I think it's a great job coaching by the Jets. Robert Saleh, I love him. I love their defensive coordinator. I love their, Nathaniel Hackett's gaining my respect every week. And in this game, week 6 against Philly, the Jets' top 2 corners were out and not playing because of injury. So no Sauce Gardner, no DJ Reed. You're missing your 2 starting corners. And guess what? It happens. Not only did the Jets beat Philly, they picked off Philly's quarterback, Jalen Hurts, 3 times. With backup corners playing, your 2 starting corners are out, you still pick off Jalen Hurts. You intercept him 3 times. That's really impressive to me. And remember, week 1, the Jets picked off Josh Allen 4 times. So this is a really, really good Jets defense. They're winning with defense. And credit to Zach Wilson, though. Zach Wilson, 0 turnovers against Philly. That's enough to win. And wow, the Jets are 3-3. Philly's 5-1. I thought this was a really impressive, really interesting win that I did not expect. And I really did not see coming. That key, though, I really think it matters that Zach Wilson was clean with the football. No interceptions, no fumbles, taking care of the ball, allowing your defense to be the star, carry you to victory. That's huge, man. Now, the Raiders beat the Patriots 21-17. The New England Patriots are... They're a mess, man. They're 1-5. The Patriots, one more time. The New England Patriots are 1-5. Ugh. Horrible. Here's what's even worse, by the way. The Raiders starting quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo didn't even play in the second half. The Patriots lost to a team that was, for the entire second half, quarterbacked by Brian Hoyer. Oh, no. It's horrifying. Also, I want to add kind of a little sidebar here. I still have no idea what Jimmy Garoppolo is bringing to the table for the Raiders organization. I don't know why they brought him in. He's a mediocre quarterback that him being there, playing average, just keeps the Raiders at an average level. If they want to get a great quarterback, they need to be terrible so they can draft one. Being average hurts your draft stock, and I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback you want long-term. Remember, Jimmy Garoppolo did not play week 4 because he was hurt. Now he leaves, doesn't play the second half of this game. Jimmy Garoppolo has only one time in his career played a full season. And by the way, he's been in the NFL for 10 years. And Jimmy Garoppolo's only finished 1 season. That's incredible. He's always injured. He's never going to be able to play a full season. He's mediocre. He's often hurt. I still don't understand. There's not a justifiable reason right now, 6 games into the year, why the Raiders brought in Jimmy Garoppolo to replace Derek Carr. If you were going to bring in a quarterback worse than Derek Carr, who's still not cheap, not as expensive as Derek Carr was going to be, but you're not paying Jimmy Garoppolo nothing, I don't know what he brings to the table. I don't know how you benefit from having Jimmy Garoppolo around. I'm not sold. I don't understand it. He's mediocre. He's often hurt. And I honestly think the Raiders, I guess they did it to save their jobs. They realized, hey, we can't be terrible, GM, coach. If we're terrible, we're going to get fired. But long-term, what the Raiders organization needs, I believe, is a franchise quarterback. And right now, unless Aiden O'Connell, who was on the bench today, even after Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, unless he's their franchise quarterback in the future, they don't have one right now in the Raiders organization. Still, though, I got to repeat this one more time. The Patriots lost to a team that had Brian Hoyer at quarterback for the entire second half. And by the way, the Patriots are known for their great defense. And Patriots fans, I know you're familiar with Brian Hoyer. He was your backup behind Tom Brady for a long time. On the year, Patriots quarterback Mac Jones has 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a fumble. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why is Mac Jones... I really hesitate to make fun of or hate on Mac Jones. That's not my personality. I don't like roasting people or attacking them. It happens naturally sometimes, but I don't like doing it. But I think it's time for Malik Cunningham. I was saying this a week ago. By the way, you know what's crazy? I said after last week, after a 1-4 start and Mac Jones playing terrible, I said, you know what the Patriots should do? I said they should probably put Malik Cunningham at quarterback. Guess what happened? Malik Cunningham got elevated off the practice squad, given a 3-year extension, and now I'm just sitting here like, when's it going to happen? I'm waiting. I'd like to see it. They gave him an extension. They got him off the practice squad. He's there. He's available. When are we going to put Malik Cunningham in at quarterback? It'll be fun. If you're losing anyway. The Patriots are horrible. They're 1-5. I would watch. I'm not going to watch Mac Jones. Straight up, I don't want to watch that. That's awful. I watched him get sacked for a safety at the end of the game. It's like he's not mobile. He's got an average arm. He's making bad decisions. I don't know what is the draw with Mac Jones. At least Malik Cunningham. He's unknown. He's athletic. There's an excitement factor there. If you're going to lose games anyway, you might as well have an exciting, interesting quarterback at minimum. But I think Malik Cunningham, there's something there. They were talking about him. There's a reason they gave him a long-term extension. Bill Belichick, I am begging you, please, please, for the love of God, put Malik Cunningham in at quarterback. That's what I want to watch. Your year is over. And guess what? It's win-win. If Malik Cunningham is amazing and shows promise and does well, you found a great quarterback. If he's terrible, then guess what? You draft another one next year. It's fine. Now, here's the only thing that I think could be happening. Maybe, so they gave him something that I didn't expect. They gave Malik Cunningham a 3-year contract extension. They clearly like what he's doing, and they were praising him a lot, saying, you know, Malik Cunningham's doing really good stuff. Maybe they do think he's their long-term plan, but they don't want to ruin him. They're like, let's just wait till this kid is ready. And maybe week 13, 14, 15, later in the year, once Malik Cunningham has more reps and more time in the system, then maybe they do make him their starting quarterback. Maybe they're just waiting because they don't want to put him out too early. This is a hilarious thing to have a conversation about because it really shouldn't be a conversation. The Patriots should not be 1-5 and this bad. But I can only hope, I mean, it's wishful thinking, but I can only hope and pray that maybe Malik Cunningham is the savior of the Patriots. That's how bad things are, by the way. An undrafted free agent quarterback is who I'm hoping could become the savior of the Patriots' horrifying season. It's so bad. Bill Belichick, by the way, is now 16-17 against former Patriots assistant coaches. So coaches have left him to be head coaches elsewhere, and they beat him more often than not. And Bill Belichick right now is 0-3 all-time against Josh McDaniels. A very weird, very surprising stat. It's like, huh. And now, by the way, mind you, one of those was last year where Jacoby Myers tries to throw a lateral backwards, gets caught by the Raiders, ran for a touchdown. So one of them was kind of a fluke, but regardless, the Patriots are 1-5. They just lost to Brian Hoyer, and I find it shameful. I find it like really embarrassing and horrifying. Your quarterback isn't playing well. You're losing to bad football teams. More and more, I have deep-seated respect for Bill Belichick, who is an incredible head coach and done incredible things in the past. But they were in the past. And what's happening right now, what we're seeing on the field right now in New England is god-awful. And I don't think I'm ready to move on. I'm not going to lie. I move like a turtle. I hate breaking up with people. I hate I hate rejecting people. I hate walking away from stuff. It's really hard for me. Like, I'm emotionally attached to Bill Belichick. I enjoyed watching him my entire time growing up, but you got to acknowledge they got to part ways, I think. I think they got to walk away and restart whatever's going on in New England. Maybe they won't. Robert Kraft is old. Near death, I would assume, given his age and the way he looks just walking around. Maybe he's like, I'm just going to ride this out. Belichick's my guy till I'm done. But, oh boy, things are not good in New England. Here's a thing that shocked me beyond belief. I could not believe this. I saw that, so Daniel Jones, the Giants starting quarterback, was out. The Giants were playing Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. And the two games I was most excited for, 49ers, Cleveland, we find out Deshaun Watson isn't going to play. I'm like, oh, I'm deflated. Hey, guess what? The Browns still found a way to pull it out and beat the 49ers. I would have been happy even if that game was close, but the fact that the Browns actually beat the 49ers was like, whoa. I watched that entire game. I was enthralled. It was amazing. Sunday Night Football. Daniel Jones, the starting quarterback for the Giants, is out. He's injured. The Giants are awful, even with Daniel Jones. I'm like, well, there is no way that the Giants are going to have any kind of competitive game against the Buffalo Bills. And boy, was I wrong. In fact, I think you can make a very strong argument that the New York Giants should have beat the Buffalo Bills during NFL Week 6 on Sunday Night Football. Buffalo beat the Giants 14-9. The Bills got 2 touchdowns late in the game. In the fourth quarter, they kind of made a little comeback, which, again, how in the world did we come to a point where the Giants had a lead and the Bills had to come back against the Giants? I did not expect it to be that close. It came down literally to the final play. First and goal on the 1-yard line, an untimed down. Tyrod Taylor throws a ball back of the end zone to Darren Waller, the new tight end in New York. And I want to acknowledge something. If you watch the replay, the defender grabbed Darren Waller like a little bit. There's a little bit of jersey tug in there. But also, that's a ball that when you pay Darren Waller a ton of money, you got to catch. Like, I'm getting really tired of the excuse making and the, oh, well, no. You paid Darren Waller a ton of money to go make that play. Back of the end zone, game on the line, contested catch. What are we paying you for if you're not making that catch? What's going on? What's happening? It's looking to me like the Darren Waller contract is another bad contract for the New York Giants. They overpaid a tight end who's not bringing in a lot of production. Couple of catches, no touchdowns this year, not even 300 yards receiving. Hey, you realize 50 yards a game gets you 300 yards in 6 games. Like, it's shameful what's going down with Darren Waller. I'm not trying to hate on Darren Waller. It's a cool story. If you look up in his personal life, cool guy. I like him. But Darren Waller is not making big plays, and that was an opportunity for Darren Waller to win the game for his team. A guy getting paid a ton of money, the highest annual average value for any NFL tight end, and he did not make a play there. And a team that desperately needs help at receiver needs Darren Waller to step up and make plays. He's currently not doing that. And I look at the Giants' contract situation. They got a big Darren Waller contract. You got a really big Daniel Jones contract. Both are discouraging to me. I look around the NFL right now. The Daniel Jones contract hurts my soul. The Russell Wilson contract makes me want to puke. And the Dak Prescott contract makes me want to laugh because I knew that was bad the minute it was signed. And it's still like, it's one of those are the 3 worst quarterback contracts in the NFL right now. But not only do the Giants have a bad quarterback contract, so it would seem, I'm being cautious there. No, it's bad. I don't care. Daniel Jones is not playing well at all. Darren Waller's also overpaid and not delivering at tight end. They need him to make plays. He had a chance to in this game. I know his jersey got grabbed. I don't care. I'm not one of those guys who's like, well, it's tough. Yeah, it is tough. You pay the guy to make that big play in a big moment. He didn't. Now, another reason why the Giants should have won this game, not only did Darren Waller not make the play at the end of the game, at the end of the first half, so both halves, the first half and the second half ended with the Giants first and goal on the 1-yard line, and both times they got 0 points. Like, what? That's horrifying. You realize the Giants should have won this game. They should have beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The Giants had the ball at the end of the first half, first and goal on the 1-yard line with no timeouts left. 14 seconds left before half. Hey, throw the ball to the end zone. If you don't get it, you kick a field goal. The only thing you can't do is get tackled inbounds because you don't have time to line up again and spike the ball to stop the clock. Guess what happens? Tyrod Taylor, the backup quarterback for the Giants. Now, a little bit of backstory on Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor was once the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback. He got replaced by Josh Allen. In fact, the quarterback who took the Bills to the playoffs before Josh Allen was Tyrod Taylor. He lost his job. You would think Tyrod Taylor playing his old team in their old city, he's like, I want to show them that, I can do something too. I got replaced by Josh Allen. I'm never going to live that down. He's always going to be better than me, but at least I could beat my old team. What does that guy, Tyrod Taylor, do? First and goal, 14 seconds left, no timeouts. he audibles to a running play. They run up the middle. They get stopped for no gain. I think they actually lost a yard. And they didn't have time to line up and snap and spike the ball and kick a field goal. So Tyrod Taylor, maybe he still plays for the Bills secretly and we don't know. He ran up the clock on his own team. They didn't get a field goal off. So they were first and goal on the 1 yard line with 14 seconds left before halftime. Got 0 points. Then in the second half, because they got 0 points on their first opportunity, the game ended first and goal, 1 yard line, one untimed down. But they were down 5. They couldn't kick a field goal. They needed a touchdown to win. And it's like, man, you had to have the ball on the 1 yard line 2 times and not score either time. And you lose by 5? You could have just kicked 2 chip shot field goals and won. I know Giants fans right now. I love Giants fans, by the way. They are the most passionate, fun, wild, angry people. I want to hear from a Giants fan today. Tell me about your anger. Tell me about your frustration. I can only imagine that kind of loss ruins your night. Sunday Night Football, first and goal, 2 times and you get no points. That ruins your entire week, I would think, if you're a Giants fan. And, oh boy, I want to hear from you guys. I want to give a shout out to Detroit. The Detroit Lions won in Tampa. They beat the Buccaneers 20-6. And Detroit is now 5-1. 5-1. The Lions, by the way, are good. They're like a legitimately good football team now. I'm like checking, by the way, I'm like, is anything wrong? Am I in a parallel universe? Is the simulation going to turn on? Gas is really expensive. Food is expensive. Maybe everything's fake because I look around the world and a lot of things seem insane. And one of them is that the Detroit Lions are a really good football team. It's crazy to me. Next week, the Lions play Baltimore, at Baltimore, by the way. So that's a big game for them. There are 5 NFL teams right now that are 5-1. The Lions are 5-1. Miami's 5-1. They just dominated and destroyed Carolina. Kansas City's 5-1. Philly's 5-1. And the 49ers are 5-1. So once again, Miami, Philly, Kansas City, the 49ers, and Detroit. Who would have thought? It's so cool to me. I did think that. I really had a lot of faith in the Detroit Lions going into the year. I can't remember exactly what I predicted them at, but it was really favorable. I believe in them. They're a playoff team. But it's one thing to believe they're going to be good. It's another thing for that to actually happen. They're 5-1. They're one of the teams tied for the best record in the NFL right now. And I am not used to seeing that. I'm a little bit like, wow. Dude, it's really happening. The Detroit Lions are actually a good football team, playing really good football. Their quarterback is playing well. It's a beautiful sight to see. I love to see it. It's awesome. And that stadium in Tampa, the Lions fans are traveling really, really well. I don't know if you've been watching any of the away games for Detroit, but their fan base is buying tickets, they're traveling, they're wearing their blue, and they are getting really loud at opposing stadiums, and I love it, man. It's really awesome to see. And I would think if you're from Detroit, you're a Lions fan, nothing wrong with a little trip to Tampa, right? Tampa in October. I'd rather be in Tampa in October than Detroit anytime, really. But, that's not true. I make fun of Detroit, but I think Detroit, for all its bad press and horrifying stories, which there are them. Lake Michigan, there's some interesting stuff. I could get down to the trip to Detroit. I'd really like that if I could do that in my lifetime. There's a little part of my brain that's always like, just quit podcasting and live in your truck and drive around the country. I love that idea. And one of the cities I'd love to go to is Detroit. I really love that thought. And if I can ever make a trip out to Detroit, that'd be really fun for me. All right, I've got kind of a funny observation. The Baltimore Ravens beat Tennessee in London 24-16. Game was in London. That's a crucial part of what makes this funny and interesting to me. Being a game in London, you realize what English people love, right? They love soccer. They love kicking the ball. And we saw a lot of kicking in this game. 9 field goals between the Ravens and Titans in this football game. The Ravens scored 24 points, but they did it in the weirdest way I have ever seen in my entire life. 1 touchdown, 6 points. 6 field goals for 18 points. So Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 field goals for the Ravens in this football game. And then they got the extra point blocked after the touchdown. That's 24 points on the day. That is wild. And for an English crowd who is used to watching the ball get kicked, I'm sure, honestly, I'm sure they wanted touchdowns. I totally believe that. There were only 2 touchdowns in this football game. But for the Ravens kicker, Justin Tucker, to have 6 field goals in front of a crowd in London, I find that amusing. Like, oh, yeah, they're used to watching the ball get kicked, and they certainly saw a lot of that on Sunday in London. I've got bad news for Chicago Bears quarterback. Really, it's bad news about Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, but if you're a Bears fan, I am sorry, and I love you, and it's really sad. Minnesota beat Chicago 19-13. Chicago's now 1-5. That's already bad news right there. I think it gets worse. Their quarterback, Justin Fields, left the game with an injury in the third quarter. He left the game 6 for 10 passing at 58 yards, 1 interception. He ran 8 times for 46 yards. He wasn't playing well. Tyson Bagent actually came in and did score a touchdown, their backup quarterback. But what happened was Justin Fields dislocated his thumb on his right throwing hand. And that's a very interesting injury. I've had a lot of friends who've done that play quarterback, and everybody reacts differently to that because a lot of people use their thumb to grip the football. I mean, I'm sorry, every quarterback, when you obviously you use your thumb to grip the football on your throwing hand, right? Some people, depending on the way they grip the football, can get away with an injury to the thumb a little better than others, and it remains to be seen how this injury, the dislocated thumb on the throwing hand, is going to impact Justin Fields. I've known guys that break their thumb and they keep playing. I've known guys who they nick their thumb wrong and it's not even not dislocated, not injured, nothing, and they really struggle to throw the football. So it really depends on how you grip the football and a lot of factors, but I think that regardless, this is going to impact Justin Fields throwing the football, at least for a little while, and I don't know how it's going to impact the rest of his year. I find it sad and frustrating because I really have enjoyed watching Justin Fields grow as a quarterback, and now he's getting a little bit of a setback here. You're like, ah. And not only is it a setback, it might impact the way we evaluate him. That's the hardest part. It's like, next week he misses a throw wide, and you're like, was that a bad throw? I mean, it was a bad throw, but did that happen because he's inaccurate, or did that happen because he's playing with an injured thumb? I mean, it really does kind of throw a bit of a wrench into the evaluation process for Justin Fields the rest of the year, at least for a little while. Although, again, maybe he handles it great. It's a very nebulous injury where thumb on the throwing hand affects every quarterback differently, and it's one of those you got to wait and see how things play out. Now, in the NFL this weekend, we had a really, really interesting quarterback battle. Sam Howell against Desmond Ridder. Washington against Atlanta. Both quarterbacks are in their second year. Desmond Ridder was a third-round pick. Sam Howell was a fifth-round pick. And this year, in their second year, both of them have been elevated to starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Washington beat Atlanta 24-16. See, 24 points is, by the way, a normal score in football. The Ravens just did it in the weirdest way possible. Right, a touchdown, 6 field goals, blocked extra point. If I said missed, I meant blocked earlier when I was talking about Justin Tucker. Either way, Washington beat Atlanta 24-16, and Washington quarterback Sam Howell had 3 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. Atlanta quarterback Desmond Ridder had not 1, not 2, 3 interceptions on the day. Did have 2 touchdown passes. He wasn't totally garbage. It wasn't a flip-flop of Sam Howell, but still, all 3 of Desmond Ridder's interceptions were in the second half. The worst one was on a 3rd and goal where it was pretty bad. He's kind of getting pressure. It looked like he panicked and threw the ball up for grabs. Defender's right there. It's a really baffling and terrible interception. Like, hey, 3rd and goal, do not put the ball in harm's way. Throw the ball out of bounds, live to see another down, kick a field goal. It's a frustrating interception. Had to be. I mean, the reaction from Arthur Smith, the head coach, after that interception was like, oh, like he looked horrified, and rightfully so. So far through 6 games this year, both Washington and Atlanta are 3-3. But the story of how they got to 3-3 and the results of that 3-3 record are very different. Right now, it looks like Washington has found their quarterback, Sam Howell. Sam Howell looks really good. He had a bad game against Buffalo, threw 4 interceptions earlier this year, but overall, every week has been steadily getting better and making small improvements, and he's got a huge arm and can do a lot of fun stuff downfield. For Atlanta, 6 games in, I want to be very careful here, by the way. It's a long season. We've got 11 games left this year. That's a lot of time to evaluate. That's a lot of time for a struggling quarterback to make changes and get better. But 6 games into the year, it looks like Atlanta might need a new starting quarterback after this year. They're a capable football team that at times has been held back by their quarterback, and this game was one of those games. And if it happens once, I can forgive that. But it's happened a couple times where you're like, oh, Desmond Ridder, he's not doing enough. He's not playing well enough, and they're asking more of him. And the more Atlanta asks of Desmond Ridder, the worse he tends to play. It's still early. He isn't total garbage. I mean, there's a lot of velocity when Desmond Ridder throws a football. He's actually doing some good stuff, too. Like, a couple throws, I was like, wow, that's a great throw. I like that. Not everything Desmond Ridder does is bad, which makes it more difficult to say this, but he does have limitations. And I'm in no hurry. I'm going to wait and see how the year goes. I don't think that 6 games into the year you need to declare Desmond Ridder's career over. Like, he's garbage, replace him. We'll see how the year goes. But if the year ended today, I don't think Desmond Ridder would be the quarterback next year in Atlanta. And given how many young, talented quarterbacks there are that are available and will be in next year's draft, let alone Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, even if Ridder's okay, like if he can salvage this year and play better in the final 11 games after the kind of ugly start in the first 6, even if he can salvage that, I'd say, well, where's his ceiling? Because there are a lot of, again, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Caleb Williams, Cameron Ward, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray. There's so many quarterbacks that are going to be available this offseason, and there's not a lot of teams that need a quarterback. So I don't think you need to have a mediocre to average quarterback when you could have better. And right now, it looks like Atlanta could have better at quarterback than Desmond Ridder. All right, guys, I got to take a short break. Got to buy food, got to pay my rent. I will be right back. Hey, guys, it's kind of a big deal here. I'm actually trying to help you, so don't skip the ad. I know that when you listen to a podcast, you skip ahead. I know that because that's what I do, but don't skip this one. We got Factor as a sponsor, and I was sitting down to prepare my little ad read. They give, I write a piece of paper with a bunch of notes, and I'm like, okay, what are they offering? What's the deal here? Usually it's like 10 to 20%. Like, okay, factor.com/SOS, whatever. And no. They are offering 50% off to Strong Opinion Sports listeners. And here's what they are. Factor is a meal kit service. You can get 50% off. Go to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50. And straight up on a human level, if you'd be kind of silly not to investigate, it's a great deal. Factor is a meal kit service. They send you ready-to-eat meals. They're easy to prepare. For me, they showed up in a box with a bunch of high-quality ice packs. You take them out of the box, you put the meal kits in the fridge, and when you want food, you go to the fridge, you take it out, you put the thing in the microwave, you heat it up, 2 minutes later, you've got a really good meal ready to go. Now, the microwave part made me kind of go, what is this? Is it a bunch of TV dinners? Like, what is this crap? No. This is phenomenal food. It's high quality. It's never frozen. And compared to all the other options you can have for a quick and easy meal, it kind of kicks booty and is phenomenal. So what I really think is interesting, too, there's so many ways to customize your order, whether maybe you're on a diet and you're like, hey, I'm trying to cut calories. There are low-calorie options. Or maybe you just want really good food that's easy to make and doesn't take 30 minutes to an hour out of your time cooking during the day. Like for me, I'm really busy with football season, and it's an incredibly valuable thing for me to go to my fridge, grab a really good meal, pull it out, put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, I've got a good meal ready to go. I saved a lot of time. It's cheaper for you and better than takeout or delivery. I used to drive for a delivery service. Guys, those prices are not good compared to this. So again, it's just nice to have the fridge loaded with high quality, good meals that are easy to prepare. And you can get 50% off of this meal kit service. Do the math. That's a really good offer. So head to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off. That is factormeals.com SOS50. Use code SOS50 to get 50% off. Again, code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off. And guys, it's a great offer. You would be silly. I'm trying to help you. Like, that would be a great thing to investigate because it's legitimately a great deal. Food's expensive right now, and having food that's great and convenient and not terrible for you is a rare thing. So investigate it. factormeals.com/SOS50. All right, we are back. Let's talk about college football. This weekend in college football, easily by far the very best game was number 8 Oregon at number 7 Washington. Game in Seattle, had friends and family there. Amazing game. This game delivered everything I hoped it would. Like, as I look around the NFL and look around college football this weekend, the game that 1,000% definitely delivered exactly what I wanted was Oregon at Washington. Washington beat Oregon 36-33. Came down to the final play. Oregon missed a 42-yard field goal at the end to tie it, which would have sent the game to overtime. You had 2 great college quarterbacks, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. This great Oregon defense, this really incredible Washington offense. I thought the Washington offense won that matchup. Washington was doing really cool stuff with play design and alignment to put Oregon's defense in conflict and getting guys open. Michael Penix Jr., the Washington quarterback, was incredible, had 4 touchdown passes. And I got to say, on a personal note, I was really, really happy for Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. because he transferred out of Indiana going into last year. This is his second year at Washington, and on the same day that Michael Penix Jr. beat Oregon, the number 8 team in the country, his former program, Indiana, lost to Michigan 52-7. Think about where Michael Penix Jr.'s decision-making as a quarterback and as an athlete and where he went to school, how that has impacted his life. Right now, people view him as a first-round pick in the NFL draft. If he'd stayed at Indiana, he would not be. This is why when you get really angry at quarterbacks for transferring or leaving or being unloyal or, oh, guys are so like wishy-washy now. No. If you want to be an NFL quarterback, you got to play with good players around you. You got to be in a good system. You got to win games so you can show the world what you can do. Michael Penix Jr. would not be a first-round pick if he'd stayed at Indiana. By the way, he had injury problems. If I'm an NFL team right now evaluating Michael Penix Jr., I'm really hesitant because of his injury history. He had shoulder problems. He's had a torn ACL twice. Like, that's terrifying to me if I'm an NFL team evaluating Michael Penix Jr., but I digress. Still, happy for the guy. Had a huge win on the same day as former program. Had an awful loss, really showing the difference in where they are as programs between Indiana and Washington. Now, one thing really, really stands out after this football game. Oregon went for it 2 times on 4th down inside the 10-yard line, and they lost by 3. It actually reminds me a little bit of this Sunday night game for the Giants where they had the ball on the goal line twice and got 0 points out of it. All Oregon had to do was kick a field goal twice. And instead they went for it. Before halftime, they were down 18-22. This was the worst one, the most frustrating one for me. 4th and goal, 3-yard line. You're going to have 1 play left to end the first half. A field goal would have made it 21-22, and I was yelling, screaming at my TV, kick the field goal. It's a 1-point game. It's basically tied. Take the field goal. What are you doing? They go for it. They don't get it. So it stays 22-18 at halftime. Then in the third quarter, it's 4th and 3 on the 8-yard line for Oregon. Oregon was now down 11 points. They're feeling more desperate. They go for it again on 4th down on the 8-yard line. They don't get it. So 2 times Oregon had the ball inside the 10-yard line and got no points out of it because they wouldn't settle for a field goal. I appreciate the aggressiveness. I understand wanting to win, wanting to go for it, all that stuff. But in a game where you lose by 3, I still go, that's a problem. That can't happen. Now, Oregon was 0 for 3 on 4th down conversions. They went for it on 4th down 3 times, didn't get it any of those times. And the only time I saw Oregon go for it and really strongly agreed was the final time. A lot of people actually, I've seen people criticize Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach, for going for it here. I'm like, actually, this was the only fourth down attempt that I thought made sense. They had the ball with a 33-29 lead, so they're up 4 with 2 minutes and 11 seconds off, ball on the 47-yard line, so ball at midfield. And Oregon's offense went for it. And I thought that was a great move because you have the ball, it's fourth down, you got a 4-point lead. If you get that first down, the game is over. You control your own destiny. What you don't want to do is give the ball back to a really incredible offense with Michael Penix Jr. in Washington. Well, they went for it on fourth down. They didn't get it. And Washington, in fact, in 2 plays, drove down the field and scored a touchdown, which actually, I think, further proves my point that they were right to go for it because it shows that Washington was going to score a touchdown. If you punt the ball away, Washington just would drive even farther, run more time off the clock, and win more easily. So I thought that proved my point. I thought Oregon did absolutely the right thing going for it on fourth down at the end. All game long, their defense was not able to stop Michael Penix Jr. And kind of a rule of thumb, it's not a perfect rule of thumb, but regularly this does happen. When you see a great offense play a great defense, usually the great offense wins in football because the rules are set up to help an offense do well. But to me, it felt like Washington's scoring was inevitable. And the only way to stop them was to go for it on fourth down, get that first down, and literally just not give the ball back to them. So I think Dan Lanning should get flack for the first 2 fourth down attempts where, hey, buddy, kick the field goal. But the last one made sense to me. I was like, yeah, that's a fair one where you go for it, you're up 4. If you get that first down, you can run out the clock, the game is over. So I thought that the one he's probably getting flack for is the one that is kind of silly. Like, he knows it. He's a defensive head coach. He was a defensive coordinator at Georgia. He knows my defense all day has not been able to stop Michael Penix Jr. in Washington. We do not want to give the ball back to them. And they tried not to. They failed, but I don't know, man. This game was really, really fun. Washington, Oregon. Washington's won 2 years in a row, by the way. I don't think any farther than that. I only know the last 2 years of this history of the rivalry, but as Washington and Oregon go to the Big Ten together, they bring along with them a fun, like, growing rivalry. And I am all here for it. It's really fun. It's really been entertaining. And my goodness, Oregon-Washington was an incredible football game. Now, how about number 10 ranked USC on the road at number 21 Notre Dame? Game at Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat USC 48-20. And Notre Dame's defense was awesome. A lot of credit to them. They got a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback. Played a lot of great coverage. And USC quarterback Caleb Williams threw not 1, not 2, 3 interceptions in the first half. All 3 of them led to Notre Dame touchdowns. And Notre Dame led 24-3 at halftime. So do the math. Caleb Williams basically created a situation where Notre Dame could score 3 touchdowns. 2 of them, like, one interception gave Notre Dame the ball on the 12-yard line. Another one handed Notre Dame the ball first and goal at the 2-yard line. And one of the interceptions was like at midfield, and Notre Dame actually had to put together a real drive and go score a touchdown. But when you hand your opponent the ball in the red zone twice off of an interception, it's really hard to win football games. And there's a reason why Notre Dame was up 24-3 at halftime. And most of it is because Caleb Williams had a bad game. And that's worth acknowledging. Caleb Williams, USC quarterback, he's the number 1 prospect heading to the NFL and college football. We think he could stay in college if he wants, but he is the best quarterback available that is NFL eligible after this year. Caleb Williams was 23 for 37 passing, had 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Here's a crazy number. Now, here's why this happened. In college football, when you get sacked, they count that as negative yards rushing. And he was sacked 6 times in this football game. Caleb Williams had 13 carries for negative 8 yards rushing in this game. That's insane for a quarterback who runs really well and is very, very mobile. There was a lot of pressure on him. I thought Notre Dame's game plan was fantastic. But here's what I want really the focus to be on. Do not overreact to Caleb Williams having 3 interceptions and having a bad game. I think people are going to go, oh, we've been hearing he's a generational talent. We've been hearing he's the best quarterback in college football in a long time. He is. That's all still true. You know that Patrick Mahomes, who I think is the greatest quarterback ever to walk the face of the earth, has had 3 different games in the NFL with 3 interceptions. Not 1 game, not 2 games, 3 times Patrick Mahomes has thrown 3 interceptions in a game during his NFL career. 2018, Week 11 against the Rams. Remember that game? Samson Ebukam had an interception for a touchdown and a fumble return for a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, in a loss, had 3 interceptions against the Rams. He had 6 touchdowns. He was amazing, but he had 3 interceptions. 2020 at Miami, Patrick Mahomes had 3 interceptions. Again, 2022 at Denver, Patrick Mahomes had 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions has happened multiple times to Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. Oh, and then even worse, in college, 2015 at Oklahoma, Patrick Mahomes, a game he lost 63-27. He had 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. My point is this: bad games happen. Even to the best quarterback ever to walk the planet Earth. Planet of the Earth? The face of the Earth? I don't know where I was going with that. Regardless, Patrick Mahomes, we all agree. I mean, at least I do. I would certainly say I have never seen a quarterback in my entire life better than Patrick Mahomes. He has bad games from time to time. That's what happened. USC's offense had a bad game. Caleb Williams had a bad game. Here's a real question, though, that I think we got to focus on. You can focus on Caleb Williams if you want. Here's the real hard-hitting, honest conversation piece. When is the last time a Lincoln Riley coached football team had a good game on defense? I'll wait. You're gonna be waiting a long. I will be waiting a long time. You are not gonna come up with an answer to that. When he was at Oklahoma, it was a problem. Now at USC, it's a problem. Consistently, the defense is garbage on every team coached by Lincoln Riley. An offensive guru, a quarterback guru, absolutely. And USC lost because their quarterback, Caleb Williams, had a bad game. 3 interceptions, handed Notre Dame a lot of points. But let's also acknowledge a problem here, like a flaw in the way USC is built as a program, a philosophical problem. The USC team we see right now is not built to survive a bad game from Caleb Williams. They don't value defense. Here are the 4 games Caleb Williams has lost in his entire NFL career. 4 games. Caleb Williams, he lost 3 times last year, and he's lost 1 time this year. At USC, he's lost 4 games ever. In losses, the opponent Utah scored 43 and 47. So the defense is giving up 47 points or 43 points in losses to Utah. Tulane scored 46 in a bowl game. They lost 46-45. And Notre Dame here scored 48 points week 7 of college football at Notre Dame. For some reason, USC and Lincoln Riley do not value playing defense. I don't know why. I don't know why he's not investing in that. I don't know why the philosophy appears that the way we're going to win games is we got to score 50 points every game. If we don't score 50, we're going to lose. I don't know why that's their philosophy, but that does appear to be the philosophy at USC with Lincoln Riley. And I would call that a problem. I would call that you know what? Like, I love Lincoln Riley. Great coach. Scores a lot of points. Fun to watch. But, we could also maybe play a little bit of defense. Isn't that possible? Maybe build a program that can survive when your quarterback doesn't play like a demigod the one time during the year. Yeah, I think that's realistic. To expect your quarterback to be literally like the best quarterback we've ever seen play college football every single week. He can't have one bad game and you can't survive that. That's a problem to me. So before you point the blame at Caleb Williams, which I think he deserves the blame, he could have played better. He's the reason why they lost. But how about the bigger picture issue, which is the philosophy of USC and Lincoln Riley of we don't care about defense and we're not going to invest in our defense, and our defense playing well doesn't matter to us. I don't know why that is true, but that does appear to be the philosophy, and that's a bigger issue here with USC against Notre Dame. Final topic today. We got to acknowledge Colorado had a horrific loss on Friday night. Colorado led Stanford 29-0 at halftime. And they lost 46-43 in double overtime. Colorado's 4-3. Great for them. And I can handle Colorado losing to Oregon or USC. But this one's shameful and embarrassing. It's not good at all. And I got to call it what it is. Colorado just had their worst loss of the year this weekend in college football. 17 penalties, which is awful. You got to clean that up. I want to dive in probably on tomorrow's show. I'll dive in. So the Tuesday episode, I'll dive into Deion Sanders' interview and see what he said after the game. But I think it'd be weird to talk about college football and not acknowledge a team that I love and has been fun to watch this year. You lose badly to Oregon, fine. You lose by a ton to USC and you make a comeback at the end, fine. You can't lose to Stanford, and you really can't lose to Stanford when you lead 29-0 at halftime. That's just awful. And so I just feel like it'd be weird to talk about college football and not acknowledge what we saw with Deion Sanders in Colorado on Friday night. It was, I think, the worst loss we've ever seen Deion Sanders have, quite frankly, as a football coach. And that's a loss that simply cannot happen. You're too good. You got too much talent. And you had too big of a lead to lose in double overtime, 46-43 to Stanford, right? They're 4-3. They're doing better than last year. They should be 5-2. And that's a loss that simply cannot happen. And part of when you love something and you believe in something, you got to still hold their feet to the fire. And when someone you love and respect isn't doing good enough, you got to call them out on that. And what happened on Friday night with Deion Sanders in Colorado is not good enough. And that cannot happen. Even if you love Deion Sanders, even if I believe in him long term, that loss simply unacceptable for Colorado on Friday night. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to edit this and go to bed. It is very late here in Honolulu. Hope you have a great weekend or a great, hope you have a great Monday. You're hearing this Monday morning, I believe. Happy Monday. Have a great one. And ba-dum-bum, bam, we are done.